Welcome back, my friends and neighbors, to the 52 Weeks Podcast, live from the 52 Weeks Podcast studio, the only show powered by overtime, bad decisions, and pure stubbornness. I am your host, a man, working 52 straight weeks to pay for the kind of debt you don't brag about. So grab a seat by the dumpster fire, cause we're just getting started. Worst intro ever. I'm gonna fire my producer. Oh my goodness. Oh wait, that's me. Thanks for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this podcast is all about some really bad, horrible, miserable financial decisions that I made. Got myself into all kinds of debt that I am still in, and how I'm going to work my way out of it. Oh my goodness. Where do I start? So, I'd like to say that this all starts 5 years ago, but really, honestly, it was a lot further back than that. But for the sake of our story, we are going to start with 5 years ago. Let's see. So I currently work as a paramedic. I pretty much have my entire career. And a little bit before this, 5 years ago puts us in 2020. And a little bit before that, I changed jobs. I started working one state away from where I live because the money was so much better. And, well, we were starving. And so, yeah. So I went there to work. And right around that time, we decided to go through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, which was really great. I'm a big fan. And we went through that, and we got I'd like to say 95% debt free, pretty close. And unfortunately, that's where it ended. 2020 came along, the pandemic, and I had this bright idea. It's going to be a recurring theme. You'll see. I have a lot of these bright ideas. Anyway, I had this bright idea that I wanted to own my own general store, and I was going to build it in my garage. Now, it's not such a dumb idea, because if you understand the town I live in, there's nothing here. But then again, because there's nothing here, I learned that really was a bad idea. But anyway, so decided to build a general store in my garage. And I thought, oh, I could build it for like $6,000, The only problem was I didn't have any money. No money. So I went ahead and got into some debt. Now, that's not the first stupid debt that I got into since the Dave Ramsey course. But okay, there was a truck that I bought. I was driving a paid-for Toyota Tacoma 2001. It was red, stick shift. It was great. I absolutely loved that truck. You know what? That truck is still on the road to this day, and it's probably got like 300,000 miles on it. And I still see it driving around once in a while. But anyway, so I decided I needed a full-size truck. So I spent like $15,000 on it. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it right now. I'm not currently still driving that truck. But anyway, so I built a general store in half of my garage. And, well, I needed to go into debt for that $6,000. So in debt we went. Okay. Well, wouldn't you know, it didn't cost $6,000 to build it. It actually cost $12,000 to have it stocked with everything that we needed. So there's $12,000 worth of debt right there. But I was convinced this thing was going to work. I was going to be home all the time. I wasn't going to be commuting anymore. I was going to leave my career behind. And I was going to be a general store owner. Yeah, that sounds really dumb, doesn't it? Well, Anyway, so it didn't work out. We ran it for like a year and a half before we realized that, well, you can't survive on like $20 worth of sales per day, but it was a cool experience, we got to do a lot of cool things and sell some cool stuff, and we got into a lot of debt. Okay, so moving on from that, I went back to work. Well, actually, I never left work. That's right. I was going to leave work, and then I got scared and realized that was really dumb, and so I didn't leave work. So, but we closed the store down because it wasn't working. So, moving on from that, literally, I'd like to say 6 to 8 months later, in the summertime, on my vacation, I had another bright idea. which was kind of like reviving the store. We saw somebody had a local business a few towns away, and we thought it was similar, like a indoor farmers market with like a little, restaurant thing where they, kind of like similar to a general store that served food. And that's kind of what I wanted in a town that was a little busier. So we noticed that it was kind of for sale, and I thought, okay, let's go ahead and look into it. Oh, man. Long story short, the place wasn't for sale because it was leased. The rent was like $2,000 a month. What was actually for sale was the idea and some broken down restaurant equipment. Yeah, it was a bad idea. But anyway, we went into it and we thought, oh, this is going to be a great idea. We're going to revive the store in there. We're going to have a commercial kitchen. We're going to serve food. It's going to be great. So when I first walked into this place to look at it after we had called these people, I realized it's not what I thought it was. It's not a general store. It's nothing like that. It's a restaurant. Now, any sane person at this point would look at this and be like, oh, you know what? That's not what I thought it was. We're just going to leave, Sorry. Nice talking to you. We're not going to do this. But no. No, because I don't have a very good track record in the past of making good financial decisions. I thought, yeah, this is cool. Let's do it. Yeah, all right. We'll put the general store in here somewhere, and we'll open up the restaurant, And I'm not a chef. I have zero experience in the restaurant business. None. The only thing that I know is that the restaurant business is really, really bad. Literally everybody says, like, people that have been in the restaurant business and have been successful for their entire life in the restaurant business say, don't ever get into the restaurant business. But here we go. Why not? It's a good idea, right? Okay. So it was like, $65,000 that they wanted for this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Sounds like a good price. Sure. And I took a quick look at stuff and didn't really inspect it. Nothing. No, I just looked at it. It was like, yeah, cool. Rock on. Let's do it. Oh, you want 10% down up front? $6,500. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. So I contacted a company that deals with small business association loans, which, by the way, is a really bad idea. But anyway, I did it anyway. And they were all, sunshine and rainbows and everything's going to be great. Oh, you want to do this? Yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to get you your money. It sounds like you need about $100,000 and we're going to make sure you get that because you deserve it. And all this garbage nonsense, Oh my goodness, it should have been a red flag. But then again, everything should have been a red flag. And because I was on vacation and my brain was in full on do something weird mode. Yeah, I just went with it. And so they said, well, we're moving out and you need to take over this lease ASAP so that you can start making money. Well, that sounded good to me. Oh, you guys are going to absolutely benefit from our... Okay, these people had been in business for 1 year, and it was like a farm-to-table little restaurant, and it was cool. The food was amazing. It was great. Little hole-in-the-wall place. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll take it over. I like that. I've done farming in the past, like backyard farming, grown vegetables, raised animals, things like that. Those are stories we'll leave for other episodes. But I had experience with this, sustainable farming, and it was, I was kind of passionate about it. I still am, to a certain extent. So anyway, I thought, yeah, this is cool. We're going to benefit from their first year of business. That's great. We're just going to take it and we're going to take off. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. We're going to be hustling for sure, but it's going to be great. And so I thought, well, you know what? To get into this place, I need some startup money because that's $6,500. I need that. I need money for food. I need first and last month's rent plus a security deposit. I think it was at least $4,000 to the landlady. Plus, I think it was plus some. Oh, I think for the propane. Yeah, because I had to. Oh, yeah, the propane that was there, I had to buy that. And we just came up with a random number, based on kind of sort of what the gauge read. So anyway, I'm throwing down some serious money. And for a guy who has no money and who has decent amount of debt, the $12,000 for the general store, that was not the only debt that I had, by the way. I mean, what truck did I have at this? Oh my goodness. I had so much debt. Let's say I had like 40 or $50,000 already in like between personal loans and home improvement loan and a truck. Yeah. And then, okay, so where am I going to get this money to start this restaurant that I absolutely have to start? That's going to be a great idea. Yeah. Where am I going to get? Well, let's see. Home equity loan. There you go. I had equity in my home. Had I refinanced my house already? Yeah, I had. I did. I had already refinanced my house as well to put in a new septic system. So after all this, I decided, yeah, let's buy a restaurant. Well, sort of, kind of buy. Let's get a restaurant. Let's acquire a restaurant. So I went to look to refinance my house again. And literally, the mortgage company did me a solid. And they're like, dude, the last time you refinanced, you dropped your interest rate down to 2.75%. If you refinance now, it's going to go up above 6%. So don't do that. And so I thought, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go get a home equity loan. Because I was still bound and determined to borrow off of my house. Now, by this time, Dave Ramsey is not only, I was going to say, rolling over in his grave, but he can't do that because he's not dead. Well, actually, maybe all of my decisions leading up to this point with the truck and $30,000 worth of home improvements, plus at the general store, maybe that killed him. Yeah, maybe that did kill him. But anyway, if Dave Ramsey wasn't rolling over by now, his head was just exploding, and he had, disowned me as a former student, and yeah, it was just, and the whole time I saw that guy screaming in my head, "What are you doing? That is stupid," But I was in so much already that I was just like, you know what? It's gonna work out. Other people have worked out. It's gonna work out. Which that whole idea that other people have used debt to really improve their lives is just stupid. And I'm going to prove to you that it is stupid by sharing my situation with you. Okay, so we go get a home equity loan for, what was it? $20,000? I think call it 20, or was it more than that? Anyway, $20,000 to $24,000, let's say. And then that wasn't enough, so I borrowed like $4,000 from a family member, which is a really bad idea. But I did it anyway. So let's say we're $24,000 more into debt. So we're like, oh my goodness, it had to be anywhere from $65,000 to $70,000 in debt, not including our house. That's a problem. And can I mention that I made less? Household income was less than $100,000 a year. Let's say I was $70,000 in debt. My household income was about $75,000 at the time. It's not funny. It's not, but it's just stupid. I can't even. Oh my goodness. That was 5 years ago, and I just okay. So we've got the home equity loan. We just go pay a ton of money to everybody, spend all the money, plus leave ourselves $3,000 to buy food, because you have to buy food to open a restaurant. Did I mention I'm not a chef? Never have been. I did like to make food, and I can make pretty good food. I don't know how to make everything, but I can do sandwiches, like more than just peanut butter and jelly, because I don't even like jelly. Sorry, I'm peanut butter and you know what? Peanut butter and potato chips is actually really good, but most of the time it was peanut butter and honey. But anyway, and more than just hot dogs, Anyway, so what I did was I looked at their menu, and I was going to completely take over their menu, but I just couldn't vibe. I just couldn't jive with it, And so literally with a month before we open, I'm coming up with my own menu, and I'm going to do breakfast and lunch, okay? So I've paid all this money to all these people. I've got this menu put together. It's a very basic menu, but it's very yummy. It's a yummy menu. And I think they had 3 salads, and I brought those over cuz they were simple enough to make. So I make my first $3,000 order with, excuse me, Cisco, and have all the food delivered, and I have no idea what to do with it. There's a big walk-in cooler there that, half works, and I thought it worked. Anyway, uh, that's further on down. But so okay, so I get all the food put away, and I'm thinking, everything here is homemade pretty much. The only thing I don't make by scratch is the sauces. I just started buying those sauces and dressings. I bought those. I just, who cares? But like pickles and French fries and potato chips, and we hand cut those pretty much, and we make those. And it wasn't too hard, honestly. But I mean, did I mention I wasn't a chef, and I'm not. I don't have any culinary education whatsoever, and yeah, and I'm doing this. So I went on YouTube and I found some really cool YouTube chefs, like legit chefs, that had some good recipes and ways of doing things. And I learned how to cut peppers, and julienne, and I was like, what's that lady's name? Julia. I was like Julia Childs, and I'm julienning the peppers. And filleting the chicken breasts. Anyway, so I have all this stuff down, and it's just me. It's just me back there, especially when we're opening. Like the first day was just me. My wife was out front, and it's just me. And we opened the door, and wouldn't you believe that people actually started showing up? And there were just random people. They had no idea that we had just taken over a restaurant. They had never been there to the old owners. Here they were. And I didn't have any of my recipes memorized. Like we had this roll top cooler, and like all my salad stuff was in there, and it was all like blah. It was everywhere. Nothing was organized. I had my recipes on a piece of paper in front of me, and next thing I know, there was a line out the door for for lunch. And I'm not even talking about breakfast yet. That came before, and it was a disaster. I made these giant breakfast burritos that ended up being really good, but I had never made them before. I didn't practice with any of this stuff. It was just on the fly, ladies and gentlemen. And I did learn how to fold a burrito, which is actually really easy. Maybe we'll get into it in a later episode. Maybe I'll share some of my recipes, because they were really good. I will say that at one point we had a food critic come in, and if I can find the audio, I'll play it for you on a later episode. So anyway, lunchtime, man, the line is out the door. I don't have my recipes memorized, and I am just like standing there frozen. At one point, I just locked up, and I had like 6, 7, 8 orders lined up, and none of them were getting done. I think there were a couple of burgers behind me burning. I had no idea. I had never used any of this equipment before. I had never used the fry lighter before. Well, I had to first fry the French fries, and so I sort of kind of used it a little bit. I had never used the flat top before. I just left the charcoal grill alone because it was a nice gas charcoal grill there, a nice charbroiler. But I just left it alone. I had plans for it, but I just left it alone. I'm like, I can't deal with this. I just like my world was coming to an end around me, and I'm back there by myself. I'm literally running from the fridge back to the cooking area, and then over to the sink to grab a dish or wash a dish or something, and I'm just back and forth like a madman, never having done this before. Okay, so man, I somehow managed to get through that day. And day 2 comes around, And I start out by memorizing. I went home that night and memorized my recipes. And the next morning, I went in early and I organized all of my vegetables for the salad. So if I knew if somebody ordered this salad, I just had to scoop up these 3 bins, throw it in a dish, and away we went. Boom, out the window, done. And that really worked. It was really kind of rocking. And then I called up my brother-in-law, or he called me and was like, "Hey, does Mark want help?" And I'm like, "Yes, I don't have any money to pay you, but please come in and help me. Seriously." So he comes in and just starts helping me. And I'm like, "Can you flip those burgers? Throw the fries in for 2 minutes, and wash these dishes, and by halfway through day 2, I started having fun. Oh, did I forget to mention that we opened the restaurant early before we had our main financing even solidified? I mean, rainbows and unicorns, Oh, yeah, this is a great idea. It's coming. No problem. That's what the company said. Here we are, running the restaurant because we needed to get in there to make money in order to capitalize on the previous year's success. Okay, sure. If you've never done a restaurant work before and you ever want to, well, don't. But, and you hear this line, you need to open in order to capitalize on the previous year's success. It's a lie. It's, maybe it was well intentioned, but I mean, when it's the blind leading the blind, what are you going to get? I mean, come on. You're both going to fall flat on your face, and, and that's that. So, okay. Day 2, okay, we're doing better. Uh, 2 weeks into this, I get a call from the company that is supposedly doing the SBA loan. And they're like, "Oh, hey, yeah, is this Mark? Oh, yeah, this is Mark. Oh, okay, hey, we've decided not to entertain your venture. Hmm? Cool. Nice talking to you. Bye." I'm like, "Excuse me?" So I shot him an email. I'm like, "Hey, yeah, that's not going to work for me. We're already in here running this place, and we're pretty much out of money. Let's change something up. Let's do something. Let's get some money. Let's do something." And he's like, "No, you don't understand. When I said we're not going to entertain your venture, that means there's no other option. I have no recourse. Please don't contact me again." Oh my goodness. I realized at this point, if I didn't realize it before, I realized at this point that this was the world's absolute worst idea. And I already spent so much money, there is no easy way out of this. Fast forward 5 years, and I just want to let you know that I'm still suffering from this horrible idea. Okay, this is real. This isn't some lame podcast that's like, "Oh, I used to be in all this debt. Now I'm really rich. I make $450,000 a year. Oh, I'm debt free." Yeah, I don't want to make fun of those people because they had to get out of debt too for whatever reason. I don't know, because if you make 450, okay, if you make 300 grand a year and you get into debt, shame on you. Okay, if you make 50 grand a year and you get into debt, shame on you. But this isn't about like this isn't, yeah, that's somebody else's podcast. So, okay. Oh my goodness. So, back to the restaurant. Now that you know that I'm still suffering from these horrible financial sins, but I have a plan to get out of it, which I'll share with you. And the plan has begun. Um then let's go back to the restaurant. Okay. Because it's so much fun. I love sitting in that space. Okay. All right, so we just got told financial bomb blew up in our face. There's no financing coming, which honestly is probably a good thing, because I can't imagine if instead of like, I don't know, $70,000 worth of debt, if I had like $170,000 worth of debt. It's just, I mean, this podcast would be so much longer. By the way, 52 weeks is 1 year, and my plan to get out of this debt is going to take about 1 year. Okay, so we're back in the restaurant. We had that bomb blow up in our face, and we thought, what are we going to do? what are we going to do? I said, we have about 2 weeks left of funds. Unless something happens and we get like an insurmountable amount of business, you know, we're in trouble. So, what was the first thing I did? Well, I went home after the day was done and I called the bank that held my home equity loan. And I said, "Hey, can we refinance this? This is what happened and I need some more money." And who would say yes to that? But the guy's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely, we got you. You know, what do you do for a living again?" And I'm like, well, I quit my job, and now I'm just running the restaurant full time." There's just this huge pause, and he's like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Let me give you a call back in a little bit and let's see what I can do for you. Probably nothing. Click, and ringety ring, he calls me back and he's like, "Yeah, because you don't have a full-time job, we can't help you out right now." So, and little did I know, I mean, for crying out loud, they could have called my home equity loan that already existed with them right there. I just told the bank that held like a $20,000 home equity loan on me that I quit my job and didn't have regular income. They could have been like, "You know what? We're going to force this guy back to work and we're going to call the loan right now." I mean, they probably should. You know what? That would have been a bad idea. That would have left me like 30 days to pay it back, or they were going to take my house. You know? I mean, these home equity loans are no joke. You know? They're pretty nasty. Which is why Dave Ramsey hates them so much, and rightly so. And I knew this. I knew how dangerous they were, and I thought, well, the bank wouldn't be in business if they really did terrible things like that. Well, I mean, hello, that's literally what happened to Ramsey. You know, I don't want to make this podcast all about Ramsey, but I'm gonna mention him from time to time because he was the guy screaming inside my head before he finally just walked out, slammed the door behind him, and that was that. And now there's just cobwebs up here in my head. But anyway, okay, so where was I? No increase on the home equity loan, which was a good thing again. So I'm like, okay, um, hmm. I guess we'll just keep running it and we'll see what happens. And we tried some other things. You know, we looked into other loans, but nobody was going to lend me money because I wasn't working full time and I had no reliable income that I could prove. So, long story short, how much do I want to get into about what happened when I let the previous owners know that their money wasn't coming? We're going to save that for another episode. So, continuing on, let's see. What happened next? Okay, I went back to work at the restaurant. Fast forward 2 weeks, things just started caving in and went from bad to worse, and I ran out of money. Absolutely ran out of money. So, on like day 28, I sat in bed that night with my wife, and I'm like, so, we have an ultimatum that we have to decide. Are we going to close this thing down and let the previous owners know that we can't actually buy it, which was a whole nother story? Or are we going to try to keep running it and risk losing our house and everything? I mean, our home, we had already done. This is like a 200-year-old home that we're invested in. We decided to make this our forever home. We've spent thousands and thousands and hours. I mean, we have spent years working on this house ourselves. You know, not hiring people to work on it for the most part, just working on it ourselves, learning how to do these jobs. We're very invested in this home. Do we really want to risk losing that over this restaurant dream? Nightmare. It was a nightmare, folks. And we said no. Nope. We're going to save the house. We're going to save everything. It's going to be like 6 months to a year of catching up and working hard, but we're not going to lose anything if I go back to work right now. So I went in the next day to the restaurant. And I cleaned everything up and I shut everything down. It felt like something died. The last refrigerators and switches that I turned off, when I finally hit the power to everything, and everything was quiet for the first time in 30 days. It was horrible. Horrible. But I had to do it. And wouldn't you know? So, when you open a restaurant and you get licensed by the state, okay, they come out initially and they take a look at things and they kind of give you a preliminary license to operate. Okay, and they give you a few things to work on. And they say, also, you need a food manager certificate, which is a course that you take online, an approved course where you learn how to handle food and how not to leave it out too long and things like that. All the food safety stuff that you need to know, but they give you like 45 days. They let you run your restaurant for 45 days until you have to, show that and fix the little things, that. So anyway, I never did that. So, as we're closing down and we shut everything off, this lady shows up again to do the inspection and to see my food manager certificate. And I'm like, no, sorry, don't even bother. We're closing down. We lost our financing. And she's like, oh, sorry about that. And I'm like, here, have some bread. And she totally didn't take any free bread because that would have, not been kosher, I think. But anyway, we gave away a lot of stuff, just because. And I gave a lot of stuff to the landlady because, did I mention I signed a 1-year lease that was worth like $20,000 to her? And I'm like, I really hope that we can sort of come to a nice agreement where I don't have to owe her $20,000. And she wasn't thrilled about it, but she also was very cool about it. And I gave her a bunch of free bread. And she didn't charge me, the other $16,000 that I owed her. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so where does that leave me? We closed the restaurant down. That was it. And we went back to... we went back home and I went back to work. But, there was something that happened with the previous owners because 2 weeks into running this place, I let them know that we lost our financing. And, wow. Yeah. See this dumpster? For those of you watching this on YouTube instead of listening, you see this dumpster fire behind me? Yeah, there's a lot in my financial life that represents that dumpster fire, but holy moly, that sucker got a lot hotter. You think that you have this working relationship with some people, this understanding, this good faith, and no, it just all gets flushed down the toilet. But that is a story for next time. Next time, I'm going to tell you the story of what happened, and there may have been a lawsuit. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's going to have to be for next time. And we're going to tell you a lot about what happened with that next time on 52 Weeks. Thanks for watching. Burn, baby, burn.